To welcome everyone to the Green Tech Pitch Night organized by the Startup Club, and let's wait another minute for the last people to join us. And in the meanwhile, you can leave your contact details in the chat, like to start networking with the attendees. And so you can, I will be sharing the link to all the pitch decks in the chat in a second, and feel free to use the chat to network with each other. And can you hear me well? Yeah, perfect. So welcome everyone.
Yes. Hi. Yes.
Hello.
Hello guys.
Hello. Okay, so I believe we can start right away. So welcome once again to all the startups. Welcome to the board members and to the general attendees. My name is Mathilde Vadde, and I host pitch nights and investment conferences at the Startup Club, and I also do fundraising services. I'm introducing advisors and investors to selected startups during our online events. And so if you'd like to hear more about our services, feel free to reach out to me by email or by LinkedIn. I will be happy to give you some more info. And tonight, I'm happy to introduce you to 3 startups. The first one is Rocsole. Rocsole provides process insights with tomography solutions for energy efficiency and asset performance optimization. And this company will be presented by the CEO, Mika Tienhaara from Finland. And the second startup tonight is Alfa Green Solutions from New York, an innovative approach to build a net zero platform for CO2 biocapturing and high-value bio-based production. And this company is presented by the CEO, Josephine Pace. Welcome, Josephine. And the third startup is Mavuno Technologies from Germany. Mavuno is empowering African farmers with satellite imagery, and it will be presented by co-founder and CEO Johannes Röhrenbach. Hi, Johannes. So this is a really great lineup of international startups, and I'm really looking forward to hear more about all of you. And so now I would like to introduce you to the format of the event. Each startup has 7 minutes to pitch, which is then followed by about 20 minutes feedback and Q&A with the board members. You can use the chat to ask questions to the presenters and to network. And now a few words about the Startup Club. The Startup Club is a one-stop shop for the global entrepreneur community. And our vision is to assist businesses in their capital structuring and growth by connecting entrepreneurs with investors, advisors, mentors, and other key players in the startup ecosystem. And through a series of pitch night and investor networking conferences, the Startup Club helps startups, scale-ups, and growing companies to reach their funding and development needs. In 2021, we hosted over 50 successful events attended by many investment professionals. And with active presence across all continents and over 70,000 members in our online network, the Startup Club works across several industries such as green tech, fintech, real estate, food tech, ed tech, fashion tech, beauty tech, and health tech. And actually more industries are coming up in the coming months. We also offer other services to startups such as valuation services and workshops, pitch deck reviews and marketing packages and fundraising consultancy and so on. So you can check our website or our LinkedIn to see everything about our upcoming events and the services. So now let's move on to presentation of the board members. So I would like to ask the 4 board members to shortly introduce themselves. I'm very happy to have you here tonight, and welcome one more time. So let's start with Helene Thibieroz, who is with us tonight. And Helene is involved in many projects such as Clean Tech Open, We Grow Green Tech, Sustainable Ocean Alliance, and also her own company, Rain Lawns. So hello, Helene.
Hi.
Are you? Hi.
Hi, Mathilde. How are you? Nice to see you again.
Nice to meet you.
So my background, I started in research. I have a doctoral degree in EE, really advanced research in electronics and semiconductors, work in technology corporation, innovation at scale, technology, business side. for 20 plus years. In the last 6 years, I created a company called We Grow Green Tech with the idea of focusing on green technology with the concept of innovation at scale. So we worked very successfully with multiple startups. And I've been a judge of quite a few competition in green and climate tech. And the last company that I've been working is called Renion, which is a climate tech company that can remove CO2 and air pollution at the exhaust. Pleasure to be there today.
Thank you so much, Helene. And we also have AMIT Grover from Grover Impact Ventures. Hi, AMIT.
Hi,
how are you doing?
And very well. Greetings from Dubai to everybody. In a very hot part of the world at the moment. So just something quick about me. So I've got about 25 years of experience. I've spent about 14 years working for Fortune 500 companies in many countries. I specialize in brand marketing as an area, but soon shifted my focus to being an entrepreneur in life. So I run two businesses. My first business is a global management consulting practice that advises small, medium businesses on international expansion and on intellectual property creation and monetization models. We operate in 5 international countries. We've been running this for 15 years. My second business is venture capital funds. So I'm currently engaged in building 2 VC funds, one in Singapore and one in Dubai. So we have a keen interest in deep tech, especially with fintech, edtech, climate tech. And we've also got a very keen interest in food tech, specifically focused on alternative proteins and alternative dairy. So trying to find the meat replacement and the dairy replacement. So that's what I'm doing. And whatever little time I have left beyond my businesses, I'm also a gender equality ambassador for the UAE. And I'm a big champion of women businesses and hooting for women more and more into entrepreneurship. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Welcome. And now I would like to introduce you to Christopher Mangieri from FullCycle. Hi, Christopher.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. Quick background on me. Yeah, quick background on me. Started off my career as an environmental engineer. From there, I got my master's in sustainability management and finance from Columbia. Built out a startup in the fintech space focused on measuring the ESG, specifically climate impact of corporates. Have done some thought leadership work with the UN on future-proofing infrastructure for the climate and biodiversity crises, and then found my way to FullCycle, which is where I'm at today and have been for the last 2 years, managing investments and also project development. And real quick, FullCycle is a growth stage private equity fund focused on closing the deployment gap for climate tech companies that are critical to decarbonizing our infrastructure. So we invest in both the companies and their real assets, providing that development capital to help them deploy the infrastructure at scale and quickly. And we're specifically focused on companies that, when their technology is scaled to the serviceable addressable market, can reduce emissions by at least 1 gigaton annually. And that's looking at CO2e on a GWP20 basis. Excited to be here and dig in with the companies today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chris. And our fourth board member is Thanos Paraschos from Startup Universe. Thanos, welcome at the Green Tech Beach Night.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It's my pleasure to be here. And greetings from Israel. Right now I'm in Haifa. So some words about my background. And I've started my entrepreneurial career quite early, at the age of 14. Since then, I'm running initiatives in order to make our world better. I'm more focused on impact, so I'm running the non-profit organization called Startup Greece, which is the organizer of Startup Universe. So we believe that impact is quite important for the humanity, and so we do this. I'm my own an angel investor. I'm investing on startups in the very early stages and supporting them in the fundraising, mostly the fundraising. I'm looking forward to see more about the startups. My background is on engineering and especially on mining engineering. So I'm looking forward to check out how the startups disrupt the green tech industry. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Thanos. Okay, thank you all for your introductions. Now we can actually start with the first pitch of the evening, which is Rocsole. So hi Mika, I'm happy to have you here tonight. You can now share your screen.
Yeah, just a second. Oh, I'm disabled to screen sharing.
1 second. One second.
Yeah. So I can just introduce myself. I'm Mika Tienhaara, CEO of Rocsole. I'm into my 8th venture here, and yeah, so probably a serial entrepreneur then in that sense. But I've worked in corporates too, but I think I'm so much better and more efficient enabling corporates to innovate with an impact. So I'm part of my playbook is to work closely with the blue chip corporates as such. Seems like we're not getting the screen sharing function here, but you have my deck, Mathilde, right? I don't know if you can share it otherwise. This
1 second.
Yeah. Maybe that's going to be the same for everyone, or the other two. Yeah, okay. And
what about now?
Okay, let's try. Let's see. No, this can't do screen sharing.
I'll share.
You will share. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's
1 second.
So while you start, I mean, Rocsole, we are an academic spin-off actually from, let's say, the university in Eastern Finland, and which is strong on actually health tech side and or med tech, where electrical tomography has been used for a long time. But our idea was to implement this into industry. Instead of utilizing tomography for the human body, we go into industrial infrastructure, look at those bodies, and it has to be much more robust and versatile in that sense. But that's where we're coming from. I have a, let's say, long track record in industry, B2B. And let's see, something is happening here now. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'll just let you flip the slides then. Yeah. So we also have equity partners like Shell, Repsol, and Tessia VC, Finnish VC, into this. And yeah, so we look very much at the operational excellence, or the, let's say, asset performance, and how corporates are struggling with the actionable insights. Next, please. I think it's the disclaimer. We can probably jump over that, go to the next one. Oh yes, so because over the years, what I've seen in industry, and we work in energy production systems, oil and gas, as well as manufacturing processes. And if we look at, let's say, the IPCC report, for instance, I mean, 58% of anthropogenic GHG emissions comes from these two sectors. And the thing is that if you look more into the, let's say, a deep dive, what are the issues? Why does it happen? Well, also, most of the maintenance is run to failure. It comes from the lack insights. They don't know what's happening at infrastructure. And why do you have run to failures? Well, you lack devices, sensors, instrumentation that can provide that type of critical data. And so we emit so much emissions, carbon emissions, toxic pollution from this. And actually, what IPCC, IEA, World Economic Forum, what they say, that actually to reach that Paris Agreement, I mean, about 40% of the carbon removal has to come from activities we do to improve the operational excellence or efficiency as such. And we have something which is very unique in that context. So we can take the next. What we do with electrical tomography, I mean, like I said, it comes from, let's say, medtech very much, sampling into the body, but we go into fluidity management in industries. And there's two things that are very difficult, and that's to determine solids, contamination, this type of waste products. And also in that smoothie glass there, you see also something pink, and that's an emulsion. And it's extremely difficult to get any sensible insights from these two segments as such. And we have the capabilities through these electrical signals generated from our own hardware. We have the software then supporting that, our own software, and we can do the data analytics from this. So we're relying on our sensor signals to generate this. So we don't go into all the, let's say, all sensor data you have and build up algorithms around that. We do the algorithms based on our data. And we, of course, have done speeding up and let's say, better interpretations also with machine learning and neural networks, etc. Next one, please. So, and part of our playbook, it's not to, let's say, when you are a startup, it's easier to sell to another startup and think, okay, we got the customer. But actually, if we want to have an impact with new technology, you have to look at those who carry a large infrastructure where you can make an impact and where it actually also creates a high value as such. So we started with mining industry, and because that's big in Finland, and that we could determine then, of course, with, let's say, solids and rocks, etc., the characteristics, kind of determining the soul of rocks, Rocsole, hence. But then we got also interest from oil and gas companies like Shell and Repsol approached us, and we started there. But we saw that energy side has actually a huge potential. But we've gone into other sectors too. But so we have a very large pool of these blue chip companies and corporates. Of course, to innovate, you have to collaborate and make an impact. So we also are part of various innovation ecosystems with Syneleap and Nvidia. We're a tech pioneer with World Economic Forum, etc. We can go to the next one. So I think, I mean, how we approach this is, of course, first we have to get an approval of the technology as such. It has been not used in this type of industrial applications. We have that approval on a very broad basis now, and it's getting into design practices. And we had to start with product sales in a way to get that acceptance, but we are now monetizing on the data. So we are already having recurring fees from the subscription side, and that is kind of the business model that is getting accepted now. And we have various new applications in development. Next one. The difference here is, of course, that why do sensors fail? Is that they're very sensitive to any contamination and fouling on the surface. We're much more robust and not sensitive to that. Also, you have to provide data for process control. It has to be reliable data points with less than 5 seconds. And also today, if we want to improve operational excellence, you have to create data from solids, from emulsions. That's the only way forward. Next one, please. And you see our, let's say, rough pitch deck now, because we are in between, let's say, or about to launch our Series B. But what's happening is that we carry probably this year an ARR of somewhere between 200 and 400K euros. Our sales pipeline shows over 4 million next year and 10 million in 24. We made one of the fastest ever Series A funding rounds in Finland last year. And we want to now go into market penetration and hence also starting our Series B very soon. Next one, please. As a team, I think also we are quite diverse. That diversity is a business opportunity. 50% of our staff is below 40, which I'm very happy about. I don't qualify in that pool. And then we also have ladies in our tech team, and that is increasing too. So I think by end of this year, we're probably going to be some 30% women in our company as such. Next one. As a management team, this is, I'm not going to read all this, but I think we are very, let's say, diverse also in terms of the background we have in tech, in startups, scale-ups, exits. We have worked with global operations, business development, etc. We can take next one too. We know the corporates, how they work, have very hands-on mentality, and good number of crunchers too. Next one, please. So this is under preparation. I spent 5 weeks in US just to kind of see the sentiments for our company and appetite if we go for a Series B fundraising round. It's actually about market penetration. We're building our plan now, so we want to be ready to roll when we have closed this. And I've done considerable fundraising before, so it was more like, are we going to do it or not? I have a diehard mentality, so we said, yeah, let's do it. We got so much good feedback in that sense. So we can take the next one. Also that for us, we see that I think corporates are not doing enough. They're not ambitious enough with how we can decarbonize industrial activities. So we're also coming with our Earthshot initiative, where we want to target operational excellence, work with collaboration partners, and say we put the target 25 million tons carbon removal by 2030. Maybe that's going to be 100. I don't know yet, but we want to start somewhere. So we're launching this very soon, the green industry also. And that's the short version of Rocsole. Thank you. I'm Mika Tienhaara, CEO.
Thank you so much, Mika. And my apologies for the screen sharing. Now it should be back on. It's possible to share screen. So
it worked well from my side.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. So now we can move on to the feedback and questions. So we can start with Helene.
I was muted, sorry. Pleasure to meet you. Great presentation, very impressive, like the growth at which you've been growing. Coming from technology, was not clear to me what's in terms of sensors. You say your technology is much more superior than what exists in the past. Could you, I mean, without your possibility, could you comment on it?
Yeah, sure, of course. And you know, we had to build our own sensors. It's not like we will have to do that all the time. I think at some point we will outsource that, like Apple does to Foxconn with the product as such. But it's a way how we let's say transmit the electrical signals and have the receivers with it's a multiple sensor system, and ways of having the electricity into a medium means also that you can you determine the conductivity and permittivity, which varies a lot. And I think you said something, you had been into the semiconductor industry.
Correct, doubly. So I'm quite familiar with sensors, so that's why I was asking.
Yes, and we're actually piloting right now in a semiconductor manufacturing plant where they actually this is a very advanced company, and they lack insights. They run into, let's say, sudden shutdowns, or they have to do maintenance very often because the deposits building up with the, let's say, copper and metals plus the aggressive chemicals means that they have no clue what's going on in this pre-water treatment sections. So I think we're bringing back manufacturing industries to Europe and US on semicon. Have you realized how polluting these are, and also how we need to improve, let's say, the whole process control around? Yeah. And that's something we are starting to push now.
Well, and I think it's a great timing, right? Because the US is trying to bring back semiconductor within the US.
Oh, yes.
So I think the fact that you want to approach the US now, I think you greatly align. Another question that I have, you didn't really mention value proposition for your customers. I see a great traction, But in terms of, so what I've noticed, right, especially in terms of climate tech, CO2, different countries have different landscape. Europe and Canada, the carbon economy. US not very developed. It's more about getting corporations still in business because they can meet regulation, right? So as far as, I was curious to know, because you're expecting a pretty strong growth and everything is about cost. So if you can mention a little bit as far as the business model that you have,
Sure.
and how like to get about the market traction, how you see adoption from corporation.
Yeah. And you see, I mean, we have, I don't know, probably now, working with 40, 50 corporates.
Yeah.
And like you say, in Europe, our sentiments are more, let's say, how can we, let's say, be cleaner, and it's a US is more like, what's the financial performance still?
And you're perfectly right. So depending on the geographic zone, you have different buildings there.
So I think that actually that goes hand in hand, because facilities in infrastructure today, you know, if you're an operational manager, I mean, you try to keep the uptime, and you pump in more chemicals or whatever you do, but you're not doing it professionally, because you run into so many run to failures. If you look at, for instance, the 314 refineries in US, they have more than 2,000 unplanned shutdowns per year.
So you're playing on the cost saving. And
of course. And you can, it's the uptime, you reduce maintenance cost, operating cost.
And that's how you justify the solution. Got it. I think
And then of course we with our package is, of course, that we have to install our sensors, because that's the way to kind of get the right signals, because no other devices can generate that. It's not like, let's take the 10,000 other sensors and we can make a cocktail, an algorithm that will get the same. You can't, because no other sensors has the insights from this type of deposits or emulsions. So then we run that on, let's say, monthly fee.
I was going to say that's probably your business model, because of the cost saving. No, I think great presentation. Thank you very much. I don't have any more questions.
Thank you. Really, really good questions. Thank you for the feedback, Helene.
Thank you, Helene. Christopher? Maybe we can do this order. Helene, Christopher, Thanos, and Amit, and we can keep it like this. So now it will be Christopher's turn.
Perfect. Mika, thank you so much for that great overview. You mentioned building both the hardware and then also having the software as well. Can you provide a little bit more color on your IP around that and your portfolio? Are you developing a unique piece of hardware that's sort of first of its kind off the shelf, or are you using off the shelf material to build a unit in-house?
Great question. We have our own IP portfolio. So let's say 5 granted patents, up to 18 countries. We have a few new patents pending. And we build sensors from off-the-shelf components. So we procure all the components with certain specifications, and PCBs and you know, electrical cabling, etc. But it's how we, let's say, and transformers, etc. But it's more like, because we come with a new technology that hasn't been utilized in industries. I mean, it's a hard play, because we do both hardware and software at the same time. I mean, that's, if you want to make it complex for yourself, please go ahead, do that, both of them. But so I think the hardware, yes, of course, we're not, we are quite, of course, good at what we're doing in that sense, but it's not like, let's say at some point, I think the hardware we could outsource, license to someone else to kind of provide that. That's not the critical part in that sense for us. It's more like the algorithms we have with electrical tomography, how we generate this, the know-how we have around it. We have some of the top experts in the world relating to tomography. And that's the important part, really.
That's very helpful. So it sounds like the software bit that's really your differentiator in the market.
Correct.
Got it. That's very helpful. And are there any other companies in the space right now that you would consider competitors that are trying to apply this electrotomography to industrial processes, or are you really the first entry into the market?
That's a good question. I mean, we've been pushing now that actually some of the, how would I say, industry associations are also adopting electrical tomography to the design practices, and that comes from us. But of course, it's not like the design practices will state, oh, you need to use Rocsole. It's more like electrical tomography. And so you have a few companies. You have some in, I would say 2 in US, 2 in UK. But all of them are like, let's say, electrical tomography is also, let's say, a spectrum of various applications or how you utilize this technology. And they're more into, let's say, consulting and R&D. If you, in our true pitch deck coming up now, we're also showing the generations. I mean, because we miniaturized the whole electronics, which is like what Tesla are doing with EVs. I mean, they have fantastic electronics. That's what we're doing with electrical tomography. Instead of having big boxes or 2 boxes with electronics, it's a small, it's like a small card like this, even smaller than my wallet, actually. So that's kind of part of it, but with the technology. But then you have to be business savvy too. You have to kind of know, how do you actually solve the customer's problems? How do you act to or partner with them and shift their mindsets? And also, like, it's easy as a startup to be, let's say, oh, let's do this application and be consultants. We're kind of streamlining very much. We can do these applications under an, let's say, subscription fee, because we get repeatable business. It's plug and play, and it's easy to scale up. So that's kind of our game plan.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. And that subscription fee, I saw in your deck, you mentioned that that's something that you're like to roll out in the next year. Has that been something that you've been market testing with your current customers today and that they're receptive to? Yeah. I mean, I'm actually, I think the timing is so right, because, corporates, we have ERPs or we have software. We buy them on a fee basis. I mean, so the acceptance is there, and we have already, let's say, customers that we have rolled out the subscription fee to, and now pushing that to and getting acceptance from so many. It's the way forward. That's great. That's very helpful. I'll turn it back over to my other board members here so they can ask some questions. Sure. Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now it will be Thanos.
So thanks a lot. So tomography, it was on my bachelor's degree on engineering, so quite familiar.
Oh yeah, you're better than me probably, but anyhow.
So that's great. But let's turn into business, and I'm gonna ask, what are the main challenges that you are facing right now?
Well, I think it's been it's always tough to, let's say, the business the sales cycle has been long, of course, when you go to corporates and you come with new technology. But now we see that maybe it was, how to put it, we've gone down from 18 months, 2 years to now it's like 4 to 6 months or even quicker. So it has, that side is quite good. I think the challenges ahead is that we need more tech resources. We need to build a second tech hub. And I don't want people we're not a company or having the culture that you can work from anywhere, because it's more like the transaction then. Yeah, you do your task, but we need to form the team, improve the company, develop the company. So more tech resources. We need more partnerships with, let's say, corporate established service partners, equipment suppliers who are established with these corporates to kind of roll out and scale up. And we're probably also gonna, let's say, simplify our device even further.
Okay, so great.
There's a few things, yeah.
Great. Okay, so there are different, things. I heard about this, that it takes long in order to set up, to get a contract. Of course, if you are talking with corporates and people like that, What about on that field? Something that it's probably gonna help you a lot is establish some strategic investors or to get some people on that field. And I didn't see. I'm not sure if I saw it on your deck the advisory board. Do you have any advisory board that it could help you in order to set up some relationships and build, that kind of, open doors?
Sure. I mean, we have avoided that so far, but I think we have. It's always good to have certain advisors. I mean, we in our board actually we do have representatives from Shell and Repsol, but I think they've been very supportive and good when we did the MVP piloting early adoption into oil and gas. But now we're shifting focus really, or let's say those are not that strategic when it comes to scale up in that side because they don't have really that own experience. And also we want to see how we can maybe also get some advisors into or strategic investors who can get this board seat, who knows more on the manufacturing processing or industries, semicon, chemicals, FMCG manufacturing, for instance.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
Sure. Thank you, Thanos.
Thank you. And now it will be Amit to give the feedback.
Hi, Mika. Great presentation and greetings to all my board members. I think they've, generally asked the questions that, some of them I wanted to. So I'm just going to start with observations. Number one, I personally feel, and you might disagree with me, this is a licensing play. The value actually lies in analytics. That's what people will value more and more as you go into the future. The hardware and the software part, I don't see much of a challenge. There are going to be competitors coming up, some bad, some good. But I think it's the ability to crunch data and have meaningful insights that's going to kind of divide you from the rest, and then have a fantastic business model on that. So let's talk about that. I think licensing is in play. Customer acquisition, if you're going to go on customer acquisition with large corporates, it's going to take a hell of a lot of time. And I don't think it's a smart way of doing it. You need obviously partners that can help you acquire cross-industry customers, pretty large size. And I think, licensing is a model that works very well. My second observation is, I think this is just a personal feeling. I think you should focus on the Middle East more than you focus on North America. Middle East is hot at the moment. They're trying to do things that's never been done. And I think something that you're going to avoid is the status quo and the bureaucracy. And it's highly helpful when decision-making happens that fast. And number three, look, mate, if you're trying to get into Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and these people, you know how to hit me up. So please feel free. So those are my three observations. Thank you.
Thank you. If I have a minute to comment those still. So
please.
Thank you. Great observations. And of course, if we take the first point, I mean, the crunch the data, do the analytics. I mean, what can we do? Because we have unique data, and we've shown that, let's say, operators, seen that we've discovered to them that they have completely wrong process control. They couldn't even believe that first. I mean, they did manual sampling and said, guys, you're right. This is shocking. There's been operators who said that this is the first time ever in 70 years that we have this type of insights. We've detected micro power shutdowns to customers. Said, really, do we have that? Because when you have this sometimes frequent power shutdown, but it's like a millisecond, it means that you wear down a lot of, let's say, rotating equipment, etc. And so those are things that are unique that we have detected for them. I emphasized number two, emphasized North America. Yes, because we have a lot of, or this was number three actually, North America, because we have a lot of corporates onboarded there already. However, Middle East is very hot for us too. I mean, we are growing there. So those are the two main regions for us. Why did we onboard corporates? Because I mean, we kind of passed that threshold or that hurdle. Yes, we're already inside. We are approved. And when you bring, especially, let's say, new hardware, piece of hardware combined with software, I mean, we have to do that ourselves first. If we go to let's say, licensed partner said, hey, could you sell this for us? And are you approved? Who's using this? We have to showcase it works. And now guess what happens? They are crowding us in a sense that now they want to license because they know that the end users are saying you have to use Rocsole's knowledge and solutions. So it's coming. So that's part of the plan. But thank you, Amit. Very good comments.
Thank you. And Helene had actually one more question, follow-up.
Yeah, this question is very specific to electronics. You know, like when we design electronic products, we never saw about sustainability of the materials. We select the material for the for the property, electric properties that you see, and that's how we build device. And now we're in a position specifically for clean tech that is a newer industry where some of these material are going to start to be either not available at the scale that we want, or there's a geopolitical dependency. So my question here is not that much on the business, but more on the material side, because understanding if you see any possible problem in scaling like a large amount based on some of the material you may be using for these sensors.
Well, so far not, but at the same time, I think it's something we have to look into, of course, with the supply chain, but also, let's say, build in ESG. I mean, how do we select materials or suppliers in that sense? So it is all coming up also in this.
Yeah, and that's a fascinating phase for semiconductors, because now they have to add additional parameters in selection. Well, thank you. Great, that's a great question.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mika. We will now move to the next pitch. It's Alfa Green Solutions with Josephine Pace.
Hi,
Josephine. Hi, welcome.
Thank you for this opportunity. I joined really last minute, so I will try to share the screen. Let's see if it's possible. And do you see my screen?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Okay, just a second. Okay, so Alfa Green Solution, and as Mathilde said, has a strong root in Italy. I'm Italian. I'm the CEO of the company and one of the co-founder. And we decided to scale up our technology into the US market, in the US territories, because of a very strong market for our kind of solution. Basically, our venture is about converting in a biological way CO2 into microalgae biomass and extract from this microalgae biomass a certain amount of different products for different sector with, of course, very different application and value on the market. I don't know if is working, yes or no. Okay. Then algae is one of the oldest microorganism on the earth. So we are not discovering something new. We are not patenting new algae. We are engineering existing algae strains. And what we are doing, we are crafting, let's say, our kind of production to be able to have the best yields for different market and applications. The most important part is that now, in the recent 3-4 years, there is a new emphasis on all these applications about the CO2 uptake and algae applications, thanks also to a renewed interest into sustainable aviation fuels, for example, or much more interest into the wellness and health after the COVID era. So there is a lot of attraction in mega trends that affect the wellness of the people, wellness, the environmental, let's say, protection, etc. So the main different sector that we are trying to focus on are sustainable agriculture and regenerative agriculture, we can say, and regeneration also in urban spaces. For this reason, we deal both with utilities and the agricultural biostimulants world. Of course, there is also a large part of our production that goes into the feed and food production. For example, think about the megatrends in plant-based meat, plant-based fish, and every alternative protein source. So these are the main markets, with a total addressable market that is expected by Bloomberg to be 320 billion by 2030. So this is the main, let's say, landscape. What is our principle? Our principle is to use the biorefinery concept. That means that at the same time, we are able to produce different products from the same algae strains, because there is a process that has different stages. So during the different stages, we can extract, first of all, the most valuable and important ingredients, oils, and then we go through the whole, let's say, process extracting all the other materials. There is nothing that is wasted in this process. This is very important. Our feedstock, as I said, is the CO2 plus some nutrients that is inserted into our closed photobioreactor system that is a proprietary design. And at the end of the process, we have all these different products that space from pharmaceuticals, nutraceutical, feeding, alternative protein, biostimulants, and even bioplastics or biofuel if we want. Our project overview is about a project that has two phases. In this moment, we are searching first funding to fully develop the first phase. We have also applied for non-dilutive federal funding in the US. So we were able to apply for a total of 63 million of federal funding. That is a non-dilutive grants opportunity this year, and we are waiting for this answer. And at the same time, we are also applying for the biorefinery loan guarantee with the USDA department that has been recently much more, let's say, boosted also by the recent Inflation Reduction Act and everything that is in this moment in the space of the climate tech and green tech. So there are, I can say, a large pool of funding available, and all these funding, the good part is not dilutive. So the kind of proposal and value proposition for our investor is that whoever enters now and help us to develop this pipeline indeed will be not diluted in the short term, in the next 5 years. Then there is a second phase, of course, in which we will scale up after the first 2 hectares into other 10 hectares for a total of 12 hectares in the first 5 years. In this slide, there is a reference to Koch Project Solution, that is one of our partners. I pointed out this here because this is a kind of a very important milestone for us, because Koch Solution is the biggest IPC contractor in the US. So it's a big opportunity for us to partner with them and to be de-risked, let's say, from the execution point of view by this kind of entity. This is just a little overview about the cost, the capex for the first phase. Then we can talk more after in deep. This is a slide about the revenue breakdown. As you can see, we are focusing mainly on these 3 algae strains. We are not into the commoditized market, so we want more extract from even spirulina, that is the most common algae, the most valuable part, that is phycocyan of different grade and applications. Then we go for also chlorella and Sanidesmus that have specific markets and application. We can talk about this after maybe. As far as our financials, we are in the phase of permitting about the sites we have selected. So what we want to do is, after the permitting is completed and also this application is completed, we will go for the construction phase, helped also and coordinated by Koch, as I said before. And then we will have the plant working partially the first year and then to the full capacity the third year. This is a brief about the cash flow and the IRR we expect from the full operational of our first phase plant. And finally, we also have done this kind of simulation of the impact of this grant for climate smart commodity I just mentioned before, because of course, if we have a grant that will cover all the capex and large part of the opex in the first 5 years of operation, of course, this will have a great impact of 10 points in percentage on our IRR. And this is very important to know because for us is quite sure, let's say, to be able to have this grant. This second phase, I didn't enter into the financial here, but it's just to give you the let's say the magnitude of the investment that we are progressively putting together, and the idea to scale up very quickly. We can scale up so much because we are both builder of the hardware and also of the biotech part of the plant. So we are maybe the arena, in the competitive arena, among the very few that build both the side of the plant. And this is very important. The plant is modular, so can be built in different places or different sites in the same moment. What we are searching now is first 5 million to cover the soft cost of this development phase. We have this idea to, as I say, that will be also flexible in the kind of capital raise. So we can really negotiate and understand what our investor prefer in terms of venture debt or equity or other solutions. So we are also thinking about possible IPO on the Milan Stock Exchange. And finally, the framework of our growth is really linked to all these mega trends that I mentioned at the beginning. So we are so much connected with the health trends, with the longevity studies, with the ESG investing, with the impact investing. Everything that is emission reduction also is connected with our kind of investment. Of course, there is, since I'm the CEO, there is also a large attention to the governance and the participation and opportunities for minorities, not just women, but also we partner with Black-owned, for example, farmers for all our grants. What we are trying to do is kind of arrive to a social justice using the opportunity to transform a liability that is CO2 into an opportunity that is product with a high value on the market. And briefly, this is the co-founders and management team. Of course, the team is much larger, but I just mentioned the people that are working strictly with me since the very beginning. And some of them, like Luciano and Albert, they have a large and long background in algae production, in algae facilities, and they have done, Albert in special, the vast majority of all the facilities existing today. And this is also a way to be sure to arrive to the final customer and design the plant in a way that the products that are required by the market will be let's say, produce it in the right way, in the right timing. So I think this is all, and I hope that I was clear. Sorry, what is my first time that I do a pitch night like this, so sorry if I was a little longer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great pitch. Helene, would you like to start?
Sure, thank you. Great presentation. I'm really passionate by this topic, so I have a lot of questions for you. First, congratulations on driving something that's such a big trend, but also manufacturing is not an easy task. So congratulations to that. So I have a few questions, right? So we've seen in the last few years a lot of interest in seaweed, and some people have been really busy, based on what I've seen, building a supply chain of seaweed farm, like, right, to be able to kind of get to the seaweed right away. So I don't know if you've been thinking about securing your supply of seaweed, because you talk mostly about the manufacturing.
We are not into the microalgae. Seaweed is a micro marine algae. Our are microalgae, so they are very small unicellular microorganisms that are cultivated into labs as strains. So we will take from, of course, labs that are public or are like publicly, let's say, conventionated with the Center of Research, both in the US and in Europe. We have plants and pilot in Italy, in Sicily, where I am now because I was here for the summer, and but I live in New York City, so we will have all this opportunity to use this kind of strains. Our idea is in a second phase to also join forces with people or other companies that process also microalgae, because it makes a lot of sense for some application to have, let's say, feedstock and put together, let's say, products that can also have a microalgae base. But for our main focus, we are in the microalgae. So we are talking about something that grows into tubular photobioreactors. And these, imagine like transparent pipes that just make these algae replicate and grow. At certain point, they are harvested, squeezed, and centrifugated, and then you can make oils, powders, and other kind of formulations.
So that answers my second question about quality control, because each time you get something from nature, right, it's hard to kind of, there's a lot of variation.
Yes.
And my, I think the third one, and now that I understand a little better kind of business model, you know, there's been a lot of discussion, bioplastic, right? A lot of it is coming from the land. With the food crisis that is looming, a lot of people are wondering, can we use so much land resources for bioplastic? And they're looking at something coming from seaweed from the sea. Is it something eventually that you kind of like looking at adding to you?
We can do bioplastics with algae. I think this is a question with two sides. One side of the answer is yes, we can do bioplastics, so we can help, let's say, the planet and people that want to have renewable plastics, let's call it that. But on the other side, we are not in competition with agriculture, because since our photobioreactors can be put wherever you want, inside the closed buildings. For example, we have in this moment a project, an R&D project with a major utility in New York City, that is Con Edison, inside of one of their building that they have in the middle of in Midtown, in the middle of the town of the city of New York. Then we have the opportunity to put our system also in contaminated agricultural sites. So we are not in competition like many other feedstock from vegetal or natural source like soy or I don't know, corn or whatever, to make, for example, biofuel, because we can use sites that are not used for other things. So this is very important. Plus, about the shortage of nutrients for the planet, algae indeed can really resolve the problem of nutrition in the world, right? Because using spirulina, for example, spirulina is one of the highest protein content plants on Earth, and the content of spirulina is the 65-67%, for each gram. So to have the same content, you have to go into the animal field. So it's really something, and it's also very concentrated. So you can replace indeed nutrients with that.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the US economy that has been structured around the meat industry and the cultures that they use, everything is very water intensive, right? So I think it's a great, thank you. I think it's a great presentation for a first one. I think it was a great presentation.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Helene. Christopher?
Josephine, thank you for that fantastic presentation. Like Helen, we've seen a lot of action in the algae space recently, which has been really exciting. Historically, there was a big bust, as you know, but it's exciting to see it come back and there be so much interest from the investment community. You mentioned nutraceuticals, animal feed, biofuels, a whole different list of things. For your first projects, are you focused on all of those, or are you specifically just focused on, say, nutraceuticals with the spirulina? It'd be helpful to better understand your initial go-to-market strategy.
Okay, our first focus is to produce in a biorefinery concept more than one product, as I said. We are not so much into the biofuel for one reason, not because it's not interesting, because it is interesting, but it needs a much larger investment and larger also spaces. Since we are staying in these sides of 12 hectares, that seems big in Europe, but it's very small in US. So it's a different mindset about space. And also the capacity of production compared to the space is much different. So what we are looking is doing a production that is, yes, differentiated in 2, 3, 5 maximum things accordingly to the slide I just, you have the pitch, by the way, so you can look into the slide again. But from those, we want to extract just the high value components. For example, from spirulina, we prefer to extract the phycocyano, that is the blue colorant. Why? Because we have also offtake agreement with the big groups in the food sector that will buy all these blue colorant, and they need so much because now the blue colorant has to be totally natural, and the natural ones plants that can give you the blue are very few. So spirulina is one of the very few. So we have natural colorants, biostimulants that are also used as soil remediation also techniques, and also soil CO2 capturing improvements. So as a different kind of utilization, there is also large margin there. And also, of course, alternative proteins and feeding. When I think about feeding, I'm thinking about aquaculture, specialized aquaculture, so fish farms, and all those initiatives that in this moment are going into the mainstream, as you said before. So there is this approach. Why? Because every time you just focus on one product, you raise your risk on the operation, because if that one or couple of customers you have there have a problem, then you lose all your customers. Instead, if you have different products for different markets, and by the way, you produce in the same time, so it's a cascade methods, we call it cascade, because it's like one after the other, you extract all these different products. So you don't have to reprocess the algae. In the same time, you extract like a different, just moments of the same process. So for both reasons, to de-risk the investment and to also maximize the production. So once I produce something, I extract everything and I sell to the different. Also, to answer your question, maybe it's important to say that we will start with the B2B market with this offtake agreement for 10 years. This is our aim. We are negotiating that, but we want, after first 3-4 years, go also into the B2C, using a lot of social media marketing, using also subscription, because if we have our own supplement line, of course, the margin are totally different when you sell to a nutraceutical company, like 10 times or even 100 times more. So this is the idea.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you're spot on in wanting to diversify your offtakes and having those different avenues. For the project piece, on the financing, that 32 million for the 2 hectares, are you looking to finance that on balance sheet through the company, or would you do a special purpose vehicle for each project?
We think that is healthier having a special purpose vehicle. In the case we will awarded by the grant, we have 2. We already incorporated a new company with this farmer and biogas digester partner, because we will be in a venture with these people. We will uptake their CO2 from the biodigester and use the CO2 as our feedstock. In that case, it is also required by the grant, let's say, guidelines. But in general, is always healthier, because you can divide the different and keep the Alfa Green Solution as a holding of participation of all these different vehicles and special purpose vehicles. Yeah.
That's great. No, that was very much going to be my suggestion, and that's our model. We invest in the companies, but then you have a special purpose vehicle for each project. That way it's non-dilutive capital for the founders going in, and it helps everyone. Absolutely. That's great.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for your time and for that overview and for digging in with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thanos?
Yeah, so great presentation. I didn't expect that it was your first time. So it seems that you are well prepared and you know what you are doing. So great. So let me ask you, how big and realistic is the zeaxanthin market, and what are the applications that you are going to there are on that?
I see you are a very good observer. you look for the most interesting algae. Stenodesmus is the algae that produces the zeaxanthin. Zeaxanthin is used currently by different pharmaceutical companies for maculopathies, both to prevent them and to take care about them. And we have already negotiation in progress with some Italian, but they are global, because they have also Mexico facilities and other distribution all around the world. They are already producing, they call it a supplement, but it's not really a supplement, it's a pharmaceutical supplement, let's say, that they use to treat the maculopathies. And this kind of zeaxanthin normally is produced from marigold, but the quantity of land you need to produce 1 kilo is like 30 hectares for 1 kilo. And then you can have the same thing with 1,000 square meters of our algae plant. So imagine how much marigold equivalent production we can have. So we really solve the problem of supply chain there. And for this reason, there is a lot of interest. By the way, the price is even higher. All the prices you see as a price into the market in my deck are all cut, are very, very, let's say, conservative, because I prefer to, let's say, overperform that. Promise something that is not achievable. So this price is also going higher, because there is a shortage about this. Lutein and zeaxanthin are the only 2 things that are really proven to prevent maculopathies. So aging population, but not just aging population, also disease, high disease in many areas of the planet. This makes this kind of compounds so requested. Yeah.
Okay, great. I see that there is the opportunities there, and I've seen some other companies that are doing also things in that field, and
you're in Israel, you said, right? So
yeah, right now
one of our biggest competitors is Algatech. Maybe you know them. They are so big, and they scaled up so much.
Exactly. I've seen them recently, so I've seen
great company.
I've seen that what they are doing, and it's a great competitor, let's say. Maybe
yes,
the leader of the market. So
Yeah,
yeah.
They are focusing in astaxanthin. If you see, I even not put for now astaxanthin. Why? Because astaxanthin is one of the algae that had the most fluctuation in the market now. Of course, if you have 10 years contract with somebody, this, let's say, prevent you to have problem. But at the end of the day, everybody needs to diversify. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thanos. And Amit.
Hi, Josephine. Like everybody, you had a good presentation. Now, I have a particular interest in the food industry. I do invest in food tech. So microalgae is not only interesting, but also of a lot of knowledge in the team. So we work with a number of people in the dairy and the protein sector that are using microalgae. And whilst, it obviously, promises a great future, but it has its hindrances as well as we work through it to commercialize the product and what customers feel in terms of the taste and the protein profile. So look, I'm going to build, my observations because most of the questions have already been answered. No point going over it or repeating it. My observations from Chris's remark that, look, your product, your process have a lot of products that it would produce. Now, each of that product vertical is an industry by itself. Now, across your pitch deck, I didn't get the sense that you had very clearly defined customer acquisition strategies. You did touch upon the fact that a couple of big food players want to kind of do letter of intents with you to pick up quantities. Look, I'm big in the US as far as food tech is concerned, and probably every sizable food company I'm on the speed dial list with. So I'll be very interested to look at your project in the food technology context. Might not be in the entire context because look, that is beyond our scope of investment, the kind of money that you're raising. But if you break this up, like Chris says, in the SPV format, which addresses a particular sector, I would be very, very keen to talk further. That is if you're interested on the food tech part of it, and be very keen to learn who are these stakeholders that are going to pick up these quantities from you, and of course, add to that list as well myself. So look, I mean, overall, fantastic project. It obviously models the promise that we all live in an ideal world. But look, I personally feel that you should work more on the customer acquisition side because it's too big as a field. And if you don't have very clearly defined strategies from purely an investor who you ask you thinking, $5 million to start with, I don't get the sense that the priorities are very well defined in terms of who you're going to sell to first, who are these people, what are the promises, what kind of return that I'm going to kind of get on that 5 million, what stage are you going to raise the next capital? I understand that you've got plans to go to IPO in the Italian market. Why Milan? You're sitting in New York. Why aren't you looking at raising in New York or London? Or in the secondary market, as we are talking about today, it's a very different, kind of landscape that we all, enjoy. So look, just observations. Connect with me after the presentation on LinkedIn, and we can have a word purely on the food tech basis. I'll be very clear. I'm not very interested in the other domains because I don't understand them, to be honest. So food tech is something that I understand. Love to have a discussion on that.
Fantastic. Thank you. I will. And I will answer just to the question, why Milan? Because Milan is cheaper. First of all.
Also have less money. I understand.
And then and also I have so great connections since ever with them. And I'm Italian, and the pilot plants are in Italy. So there is some reason
I would
to do that.
I would urge you to look at New York because as microalgae as a subject, and Chris
for a second step, why not? Because
so
you are in the professional small market, then you can scale up.
Because I know of a lot of companies that are into the startup phase that have very successfully planned to launch the IPO in New York. And I think America is hot right now on microalgae. So, take advantage of the situation till you can.
Thank you. Thank you for this advice. It's true. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Josephine, and everyone for the feedback. So now we can move to the third and last presenter. I would like to welcome Johannes Röhrenbach, who will be pitching for Mavuno Technologies. Hi, Johannes. How are you?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Many thanks for letting me the stage, and I will share my screen. Good. I hope you can see it.
Yes.
Visible?
Yes.
Perfect. So let's go. Yeah. can you believe that African smallholder farmers lose half of their crop every year? I'm Johannes from Mavuno, and this here is James, an African smallholder farmer, one of our customers. And this is powdery mildew disease. It regularly destroys James' crop year after year. He cannot do anything about it. And that's a shame, because powdery mildew disease could be treatable quite easy with sulfur powder, a basic organic farm input. But sulfur powder is very expensive in Tanzania and other African countries, and James just cannot afford it. And this is why we're giving James sulfur powder, or more generally, organic farm inputs. And not only that, we also send farm operators to his farm, which spray that professionally. And since James cannot afford it, there's also a microloan part of the package, so James can pay later in the end of the year after he substantially increased his harvest yield. All that is a package, 3 services worth €200 on a yearly basis. We sell this as a yearly subscription. And we can do that with the satellite imagery of the European Space Agency and machine learning. Our models can identify specific crop types, calculate their biomass, and with that, because we have the farm area, so the geofence of every farm, we can predict the farm input demand, so the credit needed, and predict the harvest, forecast the harvest yields of every farmer, so how much they earn at the end of the year. So this is essentially our credit scoring that we do for every farmer, so that we can provide the microloans. We also use the technology to run a mobile app that steers our farm operators. It tells them precisely when they need to go to which farm, which quantity of farm inputs to spray in which area of the farm. And the model works. We have founded Mavuno last year in March and have now grown to more than 5,000 farmers. 3,500 of them are subscribed this year. This is a total subscription volume of €800,000 that we have contracted now, that we'll earn until the end of the year. €130,000 we have earned in the last 3 months from upfront payments. We have, and right now we are fundraising. We are raising 1 million that we will use to reach 4 milestones in the next 1.5 to 2 years. We want to grow to 30,000 farmers, complement our leadership team with the CFO, CCO, and the CPO, digitize more of our processes by today we have the mobile app, we have the farm operations digitized, but we also want to digitize the customer acquisition, the contracting, the payments. And we are transitioning to a marketplace platform. So we're building a place where manufacturers of farm inputs and traders of farm inputs and also financial service providers can provide their products and services to our farmers, and hence access this new customer segment, and vice versa, our farmers can access these products and services which are not accessible to them today. Yeah, we have started in Tanzania, and with cashew as our first crop type, not because our co-founder Lucas is there since 7 years and we know the market very well. It's a very interesting market. So cashew is by far the largest agriculture export product of Tanzania, and very important also for other African countries. Tanzania is the biggest producer in Eastern Africa. We're talking only in this region where we are in the south, in Mtwara, talking about 500,000 cashew farmers. But what we're doing in Tanzania with cashew is replicable to other African countries and other crop types. So we're talking about millions of smallholder farmers whose life conditions we can drastically improve. Of course, we're not the only ones using satellite imagery for agriculture, and that's good because the technology brings an enormous potential to substantially shape agriculture on a worldwide scale this decade. But most providers focus on industrial countries and large producers. We have come up with a working model for African smallholder farmers, and different to other actors in Africa, we are focusing on permanent cash crops like cashew or the nut trees. We're the only provider with a model specifically tailored for cashew farmers. As a team, we are not only 3 co-founders, we're also 3 brothers with very complementary backgrounds. There is Jakob, who has come up with the idea originally. He studied meteorology and worked for the Institute of Space Science in Berlin and built a similar solution at another agri-tech startup. Lucas studied renewable energies. Actually, he has done research on algae in his master thesis. Very interesting. I love this technology also. And yeah, he's then moved to Tanzania 7 years ago and has built an organization of 50 people in that time. He's now leading the local operations with a team of total 20. And yeah, I have studied mathematics and have worked as management consultant, and in the last years as senior manager in the software industry. I've also founded a couple of startups before. We are joined by a wonderful team. Some people working for Jakob in the tech team in Germany, and then we have a country manager, Calvin, for Tanzania, recently joined. Lillian is in Kenya. We are doing research on the ground now, and looking into a next country and the next crop type, coffee. And we also have a very strong advisory board that covers all the fields where we're active in. We identify as a high profit, high impact startup with a major impact on the Sustainable Development Goals 1, no poverty, and also 2, zero hunger, and 15, live on land. We have recently graduated from Techstars, and before that also from other well-known accelerator programs. Just started our incubation at the ESA Business Incubation Center. And yeah, if you come on board with us in any form, you can, with us, great impact for many, many smallholder farmers in Africa and help us revolutionize local agriculture. Many thanks.
Thank you so much, Johannes. Great presentation. All right, Helene, would you like to start? Helene?
Sorry, I was I apologize. So great presentation, very noble initiative considering the challenge that Africa is facing with food shortage and famine. I have a few questions based on some previous experience that I had working in that field. One company, was not in Africa, but similar geography, was starting to achieve the same type of helping farmers, providing information based on digital technology. In a case, it was sensors, it was not digital imaging. But I think what they faced is some of these countries don't have a reliable energy grid. So suddenly you're pushing technology, right, that are based on app, that are based on like being able to kind of rely, I'm assuming, on a cellular phone, where a lot of these African countries have not built yet a reliable grid. So is it like, did you include that in your business plan as far as picking the right location, as Africa is starting to go more into solar technology to go straight to address this problem?
Absolutely. So our mission is to create a model and a Pan-African platform that lets African smallholder farms profit from these technologies, that satellite imagery application. In our situation, it's not a grid which could be a blocker. It's more the smartphone coverage. So also our farmers, only 10% have a smartphone actually. Yeah. So what we cannot do is to let them access these services via a smartphone. So what we do to overcome this, we have these farm operators that we send to the farms that we let do the services, and we equip those with smartphones and with our app. And every farm operator can serve 20 farmers. So we use them as multipliers basically to make sure that our technology can create an impact on the ground on a larger scale.
The other thing too that's starting to be prevalent, and that, you know, like there's been a lot of initiatives, especially in the US, to put regenerative agriculture, to change the way agriculture is being done. And you always come back to the level of information that's communicated to the farmer, meaning that people are pushing expensive, complicated technology, that may not be applicable in some of simple guidelines for the farmer to really make a difference on the field. So is it something that, like, when you design the app, right, to kind of like, is it something that you kind of looked into?
That's a big challenge, of course. We need to come up with the offering that works for the farmers, that they can just subscribe to, and then they profit. And that is, so essentially the farmers don't use the app, the farmers consume the service. They get the financing. With this financing, they get the farm inputs, and they get the service of someone applying these farm inputs professionally on the farm. So we make sure that actually yield is increased on the farmers. They just need to subscribe.
But so how do you make sure the yield is increased with video recognition? It's
not only recommendation, we take action. We send a farm operator, the farm operator goes on the farm and sprays the farm with farm inputs. In our case, it's cashew nut farmers. We spray sulfur powder and fight the powdery mildew disease. So farm operators go 5 times in a year, and that leads to doubled yields, because without this sulfur powder treatment, major shares of the crops are lost.
And are you trying to create a circular economy around it as far as the local powder?
So we cover the entire value chain until harvest, so we can make sure harvest yields are increased. There's a lot we could do additionally. We could also get involved into after harvest. Thanks to our technology, we could integrate certification providers, for example, and help them increase transparency on the sources of the producers. We could even get involved into the after sales trading, but all that would bring a lot of more complexity, of course. Right. So we don't exclude that for the future, but for now, we try to keep the use case that we have as simple as possible and grow that as much as possible, because like this we can create the most impact now in this early stage that we are in.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's great.
You're welcome. Maybe one quick point, because you're saying how do we design the app? So we didn't design it for the farmers, we designed it for the operators, but still we designed it very simple. So
yeah,
it must really be
should.
From the user experience perspective.
There's been a couple of companies that are trying to tackle climate change with AI, right? And to be able to kind of like, as you have a lot of quick change, the farmers need to be able to adapt, change crops and so on. And the problem with that is being designed by people that have a very high level view of the technology, but don't understand the day-to-day of the farmer's life. So that's not something that ends up being used efficiently, because the farmers can understand when it's to be done, right? And so I think there's more and more people kind of looking at this translation. How do we make it more efficient? So that's great that you're already considering it.
No, you need to do end user testing, make sure it works. It must also work offline. That's one big requirement.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Helene. Chris?
Very crisp presentation, and also innovative financing mechanism. Very interesting. So it seems like a lot of your business is having boots on the ground, right? Having that interpersonal, person-to-person connection. We know farmers are extremely risk averse, so building that relationship. It'd be helpful to better understand what your customer acquisition strategy then is going forward if you require such a person-to-person relationship.
Very good question. Many thanks. That's something I never managed to cover in the pitch as well, but it's very important. So as we do this today, and that works quite well, we need to say, so we have also managed to grow quite a number of farmers in that time, is we partner with farmer associations, and the market is structured. So the farmers live in villages, in the rural areas, and in every village there are maybe 200 farmers or so, and these farmers are organized in one association. So there's one association per village, and of course everyone knows each other. And all these farmers are organized in these associations, and then these associations are organized in bigger cooperative unions. In this region, or in Tanzania, there are 4 of them. Each of those unions has more than 100,000 farmers in total. And our model is that we partner with these unions. So first with the unions, we have 3 of them, 3 of the 4 we have partnered, and then the unions help us with the association. So what we essentially do is we send our team members to the villages together with a representative of the association, and we pitch to the farmers in acquisition events, we call it, and then we sign them up directly. We now have 10 people doing that. We can do 300 signups a week with that. That's how we grew to this 5,000 farmers. But as you say, yeah, that's what we do now. We will keep doing that until 100,000 farmers. But to become a platform for millions of smallholder farmers and Pan-African-wide, it's not a model that we can always do. So our strategy in 2 years from now is that we want to leverage these freelancers that are doing the farm operation also for customer acquisition. So like many other players in Africa, we aim to build a network of agents that we steer with a mobile app, like Uber drivers. And then besides providing the farming services to our farmers, they will also do the customer acquisition, and they will earn along the way.
Mm-hmm. Got it. That makes a lot of sense, and is very helpful context. Thank you. Pivoting here a little bit to your actual algorithm, are you able to tell historically how much those farmers have been producing, and then see what their potential is if they were able to get better yields? Is that sort of how you're calculating that credit score?
Partially, yes. So we have the historical data since it's 2 satellites that we use that since they were in space. It's from 2015-16. And yeah, our model is decided that we can, coming from the biomass, we can predict the harvest yields that they make. For the historic actual harvest yields, we can only rely on the data that we can collect on the ground, and this data is not very good. Of course, we can calculate this from our model, but we don't have the actual harvest yields of the farmers. But from the sign up then, from every farmer, then we have, of course, the actuals also going forward.
Got it. That makes sense. And then one final question here. I guess how effective is your algorithm? Like what is your payback rate, or what is your default rate of your customers so far?
So in terms of technology, we measure the accuracy of our models. Mm-hmm. Our crop type identification model has an accuracy of 87% right now, and the biomass model 77%. The other thing is the default on the payment rates to the farmers, but that's not coming from the algorithms. But this is a very important point, because this is the key challenge for most bottom of the pyramid businesses in Africa. We have, thanks to this, to the models that we've implemented and to this credit scoring, and also to a lot of other measures that we've implemented, like, for example, we group the farmers in groups of 20 and register them officially. They are mutually liable for repayment. Mm-hmm. We conduct the payments via these farmer associations. So the money actually never touches the farmer. They deduct the payment at the end of the season when the harvest is delivered to them. Mm-hmm. Thanks to all these measures, we estimate a repayment rate of 80%, so 20% defaults, which is still some defaults, but that's priced in.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful. Thank you again for your time and exciting presentation. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Thanos?
It's really great. The presentation was awesome, and what you're doing, it's great. So I really like the model of, the Uber model that you said about agents and how you're gonna scale it up. It's really great. I hear the issues that, in Africa we have, that there are some issues with the payments and all of this system. I would like to ask you, what about the acquisition cost right now that you have? And you said that the dropout is about 15 to 20% of subscriptions that you have right now.
Yeah, exactly. So right now we have cost of €7 per farmer to bring to sign them up and subscribe them, and Yeah, that's mainly human labor, which is quite quite cheap in Tanzania. So we have average salaries of $150 to $200 per month for our ground staff, and have a team of 20. Yeah, €7 acquisition cost. What was the other?
What about
Sorry?
You said that I'd like to understand better what's the model. So where the money goes and comes to you, I mean the money transaction. So how it works. So how you get
right.
And...
Very good. So we have our offering is a yearly subscription. There's one price for a year, and of this yearly subscription price, typically €200 per farmer, but depending on the farm size, the farmer pays 20%, so €40 upfront, and then 8%, 160 in the end of the season after increased harvest. The first payment is typically conducted by M-Pesa directly from the farmer to us, and the final payment is routed through this farmer association. So the market is structured. The farmers deliver their crop to the farmer association, get repaid from them, and then they deduct our fee and pay us.
Okay, so you are kind of guaranteed from the association, isn't it? So you get a guarantee using the association as an intermediator, isn't it?
Basically, yes. Yeah. So our model is like when the farmers subscribe, they also order the association to deduct our fee in the end. So it's a kind of, the farmers tell the association to do so within the contract that we signed.
Okay, and what is the kind of partnership with the association? Are they getting paid? Do you have any model or to generate out of it?
They getting a small sales commission, for successful payments. But that's not the main incentivation why they're doing this. Their interest is that the farmers have bigger increased yields, and getting access to these inputs, and we're providing the solution to the farmers, and this is why these associations love us.
Okay, I got it. And one last question. I've seen that you have raised 100K from angel investors. So what's next?
1 million.
Are you currently raising right now, or what's your plan?
Yeah, we're raising a 1 million pre-seed seed round now for the next 1.5 to 2 years. That we then use for the next 1.5 to 2 years.
Okay, great. I'd love to learn more about the plan for the next few months.
Cool.
So thanks a lot.
Pleasure. Thank you, Thanos.
Thank you very much, Thanos. And now Amit.
Hi, good presentation. This is a subject that I invest in from my Singapore fund, which is fintech. Now, my question to you is, I see many businesses out here. On one hand, you're talking about technology using satellites to predict crop health and crop yields and the entire ecosystem that goes with it that helps a farmer produce more and mitigate the risks. Great, fantastic. Then you talk about financing, which is a completely separate aspect of a farmer's agricultural ecosystem. Fine. And then you talk about a marketplace. So what is the business? Is it about acquiring customers and finally going towards a marketplace to trade products and services across the board? Or is it about partnering with banks and microfinance institutions and providing a platform to fund farmers? Or it's about giving them a technology solution that helps them? I mean, you can't possibly expect an investor to believe that you can do all and you can do it excellent without mitigating competition, without, it's too big. Let's put it this way. And investors like focus and razor sharp focus. So
absolutely.
I think from my concept and from my understanding, please explain me how using $1 million of investment, you plan to bootstrap all of them? Because the way it sounds, mate, you need $100 million to be able to do justice to this entire model and do farmer acquisition across Africa and have your financial loans going through a platform and having satellite feeds to do that and building a marketplace and an intricate model where products and services are exchanging hands. I just want to understand, mate, what are you guys trying to do?
Very good. Many thanks. And yeah, absolutely saying that we we need to do one thing at a time, and we need to be less. That's why we're not getting involved into the after harvest value chain, for example. But what we have found out, we need to provide the farmers with these three things to reach our goal: financing, then with this financing, the farm inputs, and also the farming services. And yeah, that requires, we need to build all that. Until now, we have provided all that ourselves. We have financed these microloans from our balance sheet, from the money we have brought in as founders, from the investments. We are purchasing these farm inputs, and we're currently temporarily employing these operators to provide the service. And yeah, that's a lot of stuff to do. But this is why we're talking about marketplace model. We call it like this. In the end, it's a platform where third-party providers can provide their products and services to our farmers. So we are not selling the tech. Yeah.
So that's the business, right? That's what the business is. The rest is all about customer acquisition to get you to there.
Yeah, we will be transforming to this to get into to take transaction fees in future, because this is where the margins lay. Today we have very bad gross margins. That's a
all right.
Yeah.
So another question on the technology that helps you predict the crop health and the crop yield and help farmers mitigate damages. You talked about in the slide where you did point out your competition and certain things you offer, they don't offer. Now, tell me the proprietary technology that backs this, kind of, satellite imagery. What stops your competitors to latch onto this and offer the same? Is there a barrier that they can't offer what you're offering?
Technology-wise, we are the only ones who having a crop type identification model for cashew nut trees.
Is that proprietary?
Yeah, that is what we built, and great. That is what we solved.
Okay.
I mean, it's not impossible to rebuild this for others, but they would need to have their own ideas and own innovation to do this. And it takes time also. That's research-based. You need to collect a lot of ground data and train the models. Yeah, so that is, and we differentiate to other providers by actually focusing on permanent cash crops, like trees. And these trees normally grow not in fields with only these trees, they grow in mixed cultures. This is technologically more difficult than observing, for example, a field of maize. Right. Which changes the reflectance much stronger across the year. And most providers who use satellite imagery concentrate on row crops. So this is what we do differently.
Okay, so my last observation, not a question, but my closing remarks and observation, that at any given point of time, if you just want to concentrate on the financial technology platform and look at connecting small, medium banks, corporate institutions, nodal bodies that provide agricultural loans and create a platform that can help your farmers access to those services, I'd be very interested to talk to you on that specific area.
Very interesting. We too. Let's talk.
Great. Reach out to me whenever convenient.
I will. Thank you very much.
All right, mate.
Thank you so much. So this was a final pitch, and so I would like to take the opportunity to thank the presenting startups, and also thank you to all the board members for their valuable feedback and for their time. And now, so if you would don't mind, I would like to do a short roundtable to ask the board members what they thought about the event, or if they have something particular to say to the startup. So Amit, would you like to say a few concluding remarks?
Look, it's amazing. I mean, some of the projects that we've seen, it's been fantastic, whether it's microalgae at one end, or it's giving farmers a solution in a geography like Africa. All these pitches that we've heard, including, talking about industrial, codification of information that make them more sustainable in terms of their carbon emissions. And so look, they're all amazing, and there's no two ways about it. Some of them obviously are beyond my scope of understanding. I've got limited areas that I've specialized in life. But look, I think what I really like is everybody is gunning towards sustainability. And I see this wave increasing by the day across continents. I operate in 7 countries, and my team tells me 3 years before versus today, and you see the number of impact projects grow. So absolutely kudos, on these entrepreneurs who are trying to attempt some of the toughest challenges the world has, and we'd love to be a part of it.
Thank you so much. I would love to have you again at my future event. It will be my pleasure. Thank you so much for attending. And Thanos, did you have some?
So it was nice to see all of them, and I really impressed with the quality and what they are doing. And I've seen different aspects of how we're gonna make impact and how we're gonna make our world better. Is it COT? Is it about the food chain? Is it about the production? So I've seen too many different and very interesting products and companies. I see the potential on most of them, for sure. Some I enjoyed it quite a lot. Also the speakers that the rest board of members shared with us. I seen their experience, their knowledge, their know-how. I think that we understood better the projects, and we would love to learn more about that. And why not to invest and have some more fruitful conversations and investments and collaboration with the teams, the startups that we've seen. So excellent. Thanks a lot for the opportunity of getting us here.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you, and hopefully see you at my next event. Thank you, Thanos. And then Chris, what did you think about the event?
Yeah, thank you so much again for having me, and thank you to all the founders for your incredible pitches today. It's no small feat getting where you are today. So congratulations on that achievement. I feel like there's a view that all the companies are always vying for capital from a limited pool, right? But at the end of the day, we're all in this together. And even if you're not a good fit for an investment from us, we still want to help you succeed. And whether that's making connections to other investors, potential off-takers, other people in the industry, feel free to reach out. Always happy to help, because at the end of the day, we all have to solve this problem together.
Thank you so much, Chris, for attending. It was great having you. And Helene?
I think I was pretty impressed, right? You got company from very diverse background, but I think the common trend that I've seen is they really looked at the problem from different facets. It was used to be that you would get entrepreneur, either only looking at profit, either only looking at technology. Now you have founders that are looking at business side, customer side, finding innovative business model, right? To kind of look at the corporation, what's the pain point, and so on. And I think even the material, right? The first company, when I talked to Mika, I think it was really interesting how the depth of reasoning that all these founders go through. And I saw that in the 3 of them when I asked questions, which I think was beautiful to see. So no, great company, great presentation. I look forward to seeing where all of are going to go. And thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much, Helene, for the good feedback. I think it was a really amazing event tonight. So thank you again, all of you, for attending. And I will be sharing the contact details with all of you. And also there will be a recording on our YouTube channel in a few days. So I will send you all this information. So thank you again, and have a wonderful evening, all of you. And hopefully see you soon again at the Startup Club. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.